I feel like there used to be a wider spectrum to describe people on the internet, but these days all I see is repeated opinions and personalities. I have a pretty strong theory as to why this is happening, and I feel like it's because so many people now are chronically online. They're staying inside, scrolling on TikTok, binging shows and playing video games, and not spending real time outside gaining experiences that shape their opinions and their worldview. It's a huge problem because each of these things provide a sense of what people are missing from being outside in the real world. Video games offer a sense of achievement, especially if they're grindy or competitive games. The shows that they watch provide a sense of adventure and also a sense of emotion. People become attached subconsciously to the characters that they see on TV, and social media is just an influx of information where people get their personalities and their opinions from. No one's brain is really given any adequate time to think. 1 minute you're scrolling, you see a happy, funny, wholesome video, the next moment there's a sad one, and the next moment there's a fat white girl shaking her ass on your screen. As humans, our emotions shouldn't be switching up this fast. Not only are people latching onto opinions that aren't theirs, but it's also like they have predetermined emotions that they should be feeling based on what they watch on their feed. Because of this, the internet has become a huge hive mind. No one really can think for themselves anymore, and even if they do, they don't really have the balls to say what they're actually thinking. I feel like this has gone so much worse since short form content has come along. There's people constantly coming in and out of relevancy. One person might say that someone's fallen off, and all of a sudden that person's fallen off, even if their content hasn't even changed. And if you're someone who still watches this content creator, you're just deemed as stupid, even if their content has stayed the exact same. There was even one time I was on Instagram and I was watching reels. I know, waste of time. I checked the comments and someone said that they found the reel funny until they saw how many likes it had. How does that even make any sense? Everyone also gravitates towards things that everyone else is already enjoying. No one wants to watch a Twitch stream with 5 people, even if it's actually interesting, but instead they'd rather go to the stream with 5 to 10,000 people, full of retards spamming emotes, and there's a skinny streamer sitting on his desk reacting to TikTok videos. Reacting is a strong word, by the way. Most of the time they just sit there, eat food, and not even say anything. Either people know this is not entertainment, but they're too scared to say it, or we're so messed up to the point where this is actually considered real entertainment. Someone that's largely controversial might have a great take on something, but because they're controversial, they're going to be berated for what they say. Whereas someone who's mostly loved might have a horrible take on something, but because they're so loved by everyone, they're praised for it. It's crazy to see the influences that people idolize now. You have streamers like Sketch who act retarded for views, and I have no idea how anyone watches it because I can't even keep up with what he says. And then you have streamers like Asmongold who sits in his disgusting room wiping blood on his walls from his gums that bleed because he didn't brush his teeth enough. That's just disgusting. You also have TikTokers and IRL streamers running around doing the most crazy shit and saying some of the most crazy stuff just for views. I've literally seen clips of people actually getting harassed just for views, and people love it. They just keep consuming. These people put their morals aside just for some easy clicks and some attention. On the subject of morals, we also live in a society now that parades girls for selling their body online for less than what a Netflix subscription costs. The worst thing is that the guys who pay for this OnlyFans membership think that they're actually talking to the girl in the DMs, but in reality it's being outsourced to some guy in Europe or India. You think you're sending your dick pics to the girl? No, bro. There's some other guy on the other side of the world rating it, giving it a 9 or an 8 out of 10. Everyone knows it's small, bro. And the thing is, these crazy streamers and TikTokers are actually no different to the OnlyFans girls because they're essentially whoring themselves out for views and attention too. It's crazy too because the internet used to be a place that people go to escape the stresses of real life. But now it's different. People on the internet, on average, for over 6 hours a day. Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, MySpace used to be places that people could go to be people that they couldn't be in real life. But now you see that people's internet personalities bleed into who they are actually in real life. Everyone's humor is exactly the same, and it's that of what they saw on Twitter. And I've actually seen some people genuinely develop the same personalities as the influencers they watch online. Lockdown made this so much worse because people are spending so much time inside building actual parasocial relationships with the streamers they watched online. And people also becoming confused. I remember when the lockdown was lifted and I saw an influx of people dressing like an emo with hair all colours of the rainbow and identifying as cats and dogs. What I've realised is that whether people believe this shit or not, they're going to cling on to it because they lack personality. I've seen people defend views they know hardly anything about, and it's like they're robots. Certain things are deemed funny because TikTok says so, and certain political opinions are seen as correct or incorrect because Twitter says so. It's like everyone's just been given a predetermined way of thinking based on what comes up on their feeds. Another thing that I've noticed is that no one really has any of their own real experiences to talk about anymore. When was the last time you heard people actually talking about real life experiences instead of what was actually happening online? Have you seen that new funny video? Look at this new video game coming out. Have you watched that new show yet? The internet is also really messing up the youth too. If you hear some of the words and the phrases that are trending these days, it can make you honestly feel sick. There's kids talking about skibbity toilet, oiling themselves up and edging each other for hours. 10 years ago you'd be bullied for saying these things, and now all of a sudden it's mainstream. So many people tell me to not take things so seriously and to act like it's all a joke. And I'm all for a joke, but you can't convince me this is healthy. There are toddlers as young as 2 years old that I've seen being fully able to operate TikTok and YouTube, and if you even dare try to take the technology away from them, they're gonna act out and go crazy. It's like crack to them. Sometimes I get on the bus and the train to go places, and a group of kids get on, and that's fine. It's better that they're outside than inside. But sometimes the way I hear these people speak, it honestly makes me sick. No one, kids and adults, really has any shame in what they say anymore, especially on the internet, but also in real life. It's not even just kids. There's adults who can't even sit down and eat their dinner without having to watch something in the background. It's like eating a nice meal isn't stimulating enough for them. I know this because I honestly do this sometimes too. We'd rather sit down and watch a video and be pacified with what's on our screen instead of having a real genuine conversation with our families while we eat. Or better yet, some people are just too scared to be left alone with their thoughts. People are scared to be left alone in their own minds, and so instead of being left alone to think, they'd rather be constantly be stimulated, so they give themselves no time to think. But honestly, some genuine advice, if you actually sat down for 10 minutes with no distractions and left yourself to just think, you'd be surprised at some of the stuff you come up with. I do think a lot of people now are smarter than what they seem, but because they've been so overstimulated by the internet, you don't really see them come out as much. I pity these people because it's not as easy as telling someone to go outside anymore. It's not like as soon as someone steps outside, they're going to be given a good friendship circle and a bunch of opportunities. These things take time and it's delayed gratification, and no one really wants to go through that anymore. Everyone's so used to being instantly gratified that they don't want to go through the discomfort it takes to get to these things. I believe the best solution is to just slowly ease into lowering your screen time. I don't really believe in this cold turkey cut-off because these people are never really going to go back to it because they're hardwired to do these things. Try and build up a hobby outside of the internet that you spend genuine time on every single week. Arrange a nice social event with your friends at least once every week so you have something to look forward to. Spend more time with family, and slowly but surely your screen time will lower. Maybe uninstall the apps and some of the video games for a little while until you build up the willpower and the maturity to use them in moderation. This is what I did, and I'm not going to say that I'm perfect. I'm far from it, but I can definitely say that I'm not someone who can be considered chronically online. But anyway, whether you agree or disagree, I don't really care. Embrace discomfort, stay shivering.